how to choose your student city or university. So if you're thinking about going to university, it won't be this September, it'll be next September, whenever. I've created this little video for you, and that is just so you can have a look and break down some of the key points and key decision makers, and so that can help you decide what makes it a good university, what makes it a bad university, what makes it right for you and what doesn't make it right for you. You will know these decisions in your mind, but here are some other ways to think about it. So, to start with, let's look at the university. Now, there are some key points you need to look at in the university, and that is, do they offer your course? Do you know what course you want to do? And how good is that course? When looking at it, take a look at how many graduates get a job afterwards. How many graduates are successful? What is the course like? Are the lecturers well known in the industry? What do the lecturers do while at university? And I don't mean obviously teach lectures, I mean outside that. So they'll all be academics, which means they'll do research and they'll publish articles, books, etc. And if they are key players in that area, they'll be doing a lot of that, as well as lecturing you guys and offering you the best experience. Secondly, what you need to look at is your entry requirements. What do you need in order to get into university? So you know what course you want to do. You've seen the course is good. How do you get there? What do you need? What levels do you need? Do you need 3 A's, 2 A's and 1 B? What UCAS points, essentially. You can build up UCAS points in slightly different ways. Obviously the main way is A levels, but you can go to college in different ways. But I don't want to cover that here. So look at your entry requirements, figure out how you can build them up. Where is it based? What city is it in? We'll cover this in more detail later in this video. But which city is it in, and does it reflect a personality of you? Is it a city you'd like to live in? Is there plenty of things to do? If there is nothing to do in that city, it'll be a very small world on campus. So always make sure that the city offers something that you'd like to do. Its facilities. So universities are ever changing. Are they keeping up to date with their facilities? What are their lecture facilities like, their seminars, their labs, library, technology wise, what are they using, facilities to learn? Because obviously with the pandemic everyone's gone online, and it means we use them a lot of the spaces are redundant. However, the traditional way of going to a library, I think, will become lost in the fact that we can now do a lot more remotely. So why do we need to travel to a library? Obviously, pardon me, that you still need books, but again, a lot of them are online. So what are their facilities like? Are they good? What is their SU like? What does their SU offer? Has it got some nice pubs, bars? Has it got some nice food? What do they do during the week? Have they got good sports clubs? And what are they called? I don't know what they're called. Clubs and societies. So a sort of psychology society, law society, anything like that. And then your sports clubs can be hockey, football, lacrosse, anything like that. Do they fund them well? Do they have good equipment? Are they well visited, etc.? Look at that, because if you're a sporty person or you want to get involved in a club, excellent way to earn brownie points. Let me just move to that a second. Your travel time. So move that back. How long does it take you to get there and back? Now, a lot of people think, right, well, this, for instance, let's say you live in Nottinghamshire and you want to travel to Exeter. It's a long way, and you've got to bear this in mind when you move in, come back for summer and you finally move out. You're going to have to get all your stuff in and out, and you don't really want to do it in 2 or 3 trips because it's going to be a nightmare, especially for that long distance. Also, if you need to get home in any distance or any short period of time, obviously you've got to manage. I'm not saying don't go to really far universities, but bear that in mind. It can be a factor. If people want to be close to home, they can just nip an hour down the road and they can potentially live at home if they wanted to, but obviously make sure that it is something you consider. The final one for university is look at the accommodation. What does it offer? Is it good accommodation? Is it bad accommodation? What does the city accommodation offer? If you're going to be a first year, it's likely you're going to be in halls. And if you're in halls, I won't lie, they're not the most decorated places in the world. Obviously, if they're newly built, they'll be quite nice. However, some of them can be 8 to 10 years old and won't have been fully refurbished because they'll do that maintenance each year. They'll go through each block probably. So it's likely it might be washing through the cycle. But what is it like? Doesn't mean it's a bad university, but it can affect the experience. So just to recap, things that you need to look for when choosing a uni. Make sure it suits you as a person. What are the entry requirements? Does it offer the course? Is it a good course? Look at the lecturers, see what they're doing in their spare time. What are facilities like? How big is the university? Has it got more than one campus? What is the SU like? And what do they offer? Do they have good sports? Do they have good facilities, good pubs, clubs, bars, and events, everything like that? And look at the accommodation. So, hopefully, I know that was quick. I have done an article on this and it is on the website, so if you want to recap this at any point, just go on there. Next, which is another important factor, is what city. So, for instance, I suggest that you do a list for universities and a list for cities. And then what you can do is you can see, right, well, I really like this university, but I don't like the city. So you cross it off, and then hopefully you should be able to pick 3, which then you can move forward with in your application for first, second, and third. Right. When looking at a city, these are my top points. I went to Lincoln University. I chose it because it was fairly close. It was quite easy on the entry requirements. I'm not academically smart. I did sport, and the hockey team was alright. It's just what I did. Now I do nothing in sports. But for you to choose which university you want to do, has to reflect your personality. And what I mean by this is, do you like having things to do? Are there lots of things to do in the city? Is it historical things? Is it sort of modern and fresh? Does it have pubs and clubs? Does it have all these quirky events like, not pub golf. Pub golf isn't one. Like the putting range, but it's in obviously bright colours. All these kind of different things that they have. Do they have a lot of bowling alleys? All these kind of stuff. Is that the stuff you like to do? So it has to match your personality and what you want to do. Obviously, you want it to have good restaurants. You need it to have businesses in the area because this helps with graduate jobs. It needs to have lots of like the economy. The economy needs to be good. So obviously, it's generating it. Is the university big but the city small? Has the university outgrown the city, or is the city outgrown the university? So does the personality match you? Businesses. How many businesses are in the area? Because it's likely if you want to stay there afterwards, you are going to need a job. And if there are not many businesses in the area, I can tell you, you will probably have to move. And this is because of the fact that a lot of them will have graduate jobs, but you imagine how many graduates are churning out each year. So what makes you stand out? I've done a blog on that. But make sure there's plenty of businesses, plenty of opportunities, and even as a student, if you need a job, it needs to be thriving. If you want a pub job, a waitress job, anything, make sure there's plenty of opportunities for you to earn your rent money. Transport hubs. Is it easy to get in and out? Trains. Does it have good links? Is it in a rural area? Is it a nightmare to get there? Are there barely any trains? What is the bus situation like? If you need to get a bus to and from a campus, make sure it's easy, it's simple. How do you do it as a student? The roads, for instance, is it a nightmare to get to? Can you get there easily? Can you park up outside your accommodation? And all these little things, because when you move in and out, you will find them. These are the bits that frustrate you. So if you need to get into your city quickly and it's a nightmare because it has no road infrastructure, it's going to be painful, especially move in day and move out day. Train, again, if you just want to go home and the next day and they don't have any trains, it's a nightmare. So have a look at that. Transport hubs, very important. Opportunities to graduate. So opportunities as you finish university, what are you doing? Can you get work experience while you're at university? Can you work for a company? Can you build your CV while you're there? Housing, what is that like? Is it a good standard of housing? There are plenty of cities that have shocking standards of housing. They are all getting better though, but there are still some places where the cycle hasn't reached yet and they're bringing up slowly behind. So make sure it's good, make sure it's value for money, and make sure it's right for you. Not necessarily lots of activities, the economic situation, and the locals, what the locals like. Because if you live in a house, you'll be in a community. And students can have a bad rep when it comes to living in the community because they might be noisy because they have parties, all they do is drink all day, and they're inconsiderate because they'll come back at 3 o'clock in the morning screaming and shouting. Not the case. What can happen is you can have a very considerate bunch of students who are quiet, go to lectures during the day, and look after the house and the garden and anything else. There's two sides to it. But are the locals receiving on that? Because I've heard some stories where locals are very thankful for having students that obviously don't wake them up in the morning and are very considerate. They don't mind the fact they go out, but what they want is that, if they've got children at school in the morning, is the fact that they will be able to get them up and they're not being woken up at early hours in the morning. You can also have good neighbours, bad neighbours. We had alright neighbours. We got a few complaints, but we weren't the quietest. But make sure the locals are thankful. You can be in student sort of areas and neighbourhoods as well. So obviously it's likely that you'll be in like a small student neighbourhood. So if you get a house, it's going to be surrounded by quite a few students. So just a summary for the city, what to look for. Does it match you as a person? Are there lots of things to do? What activities are there to do? Are there lots of restaurants? Lots of shops, lots of bits for you to get stuck into while you're there with your friends. Transport hubs, is it easy to get in and out? What's it like to get there? Is it linked to other places? Can you get to places easily? Is it cheap? Is it expensive? What is it like? Opportunities, what I mean by this is, as a graduate, what are the opportunities available to you? While you're at university, can you get experience? Can you get a job while you're there? Or is it just a complete ghost town? Can you not get a job anywhere? Can you not earn any money? And there'll be no graduate jobs afterwards, but they offer a really good course. What is the housing like? Is it good? Is it bad? Is it indifferent? Is it in a nice place? Is it in a bad place? All these kind of bits. What's the rent like? What is the space like? What are the letting agents and landlords like? Take a look at that, because that plays a massive part in your experience. The economy, and that's just to see how things are turning over. Is it growing or is it sort of downsizing? You always want to find a place that's growing, because that means that in the future you can obviously grow with it and you get bigger and bigger. The locals, what are the locals like? Are they good, bad? The easiest way to tell this is to stay there for a couple of days and just see what it's like. 9.9 times out of 10, the locals are really nice. Just get to know them and they'll be happy. Hope this has been useful for you. I've done a blog on this, so head to the website, see it all on there, and if you get any questions, let me know.